my gosh, it's such a blessing to be here with y'all at the space and with Pastor Eastland. Give yourself and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this. I'm going to call it a social experiment because at the onset of grief, I really did not feel like there was many communities and many spaces to be able to discuss and unpack grief safely. It felt like a lot of the different places that I was entering and that friends of mine in grief were entering just felt like you were being judged, felt like you couldn't fully show up as your full self, felt like the discussion was centered around pray it away or church it away or you'll be fine, just give it some time. And so I began this journey of self-discovery, and upon it, I found I can help to create community. I can help to be that piece for someone else and to discuss it, not because I'm an expert, but because I've been through it myself, right, and because I continue to go through it. And I think that that's what God wants of us, is to be in community when hard things happen. So when I say social experiment, I had this idea, I'm going to start a podcast, because I think everybody at some point says, I'm going to start a podcast. And I wanted to discuss grief and unpack it in safe spaces. And for me, like seeing y'all here and being here at Lit Java and sitting across from Pastor Eastland, like this is a dream come true for me. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here and being a part of the discussion, because discussing grief is not easy. Bethany Anderson is my show's producer, and thank you so much. At the beginning of all of this, I said to her, Bethany, why didn't God give me an idea to discuss shoes and fashion? Why was it grief? Like, why did it have to be that? But I've been blessed by this experience, and what you are witnessing today is a culmination of 12 consecutive weeks of episodes centering grief in the Black community. And I just want to thank y'all for being a part of it.
Amen.
So I don't think I said this. My name is Kelli Holloway, and welcome to Grief in the Raw. We are officially recording now. So if you're not already subscribed, before the end of the evening, I want you to subscribe so that you'll be able to listen to this episode that you're a part of. And this is my first ever live. So yeah, this is awesome. I want to thank Lit Java Coffee and Books. I want to thank Angie and Dewana for hosting this in their beautiful space. If you haven't already had a chance to get up and take a look at this beautiful space and to get some coffee and snacks and all the things, please take a moment to do that, because these ladies put a lot of love into every sip of coffee here. So, and it's not just coffee. They also have smoothies and refreshers and all the things. So please make sure to show them some love before you leave. So before I introduce my very special guest, everyone should have a little half slip of paper. I want you to take a couple of moments. We'll turn the music back up for about 3 or 4 minutes. I want you to take some time to marinate on those questions. Just get 3 questions. And then I want you to talk with your neighbor, somebody that you're sitting beside, and discuss those things. I want to know how you're feeling and where you are on the grief scale this evening. If you've been listening to the show and you follow the show, this is something that I ask of every guest, and I will be asking Pastor Eastland to share hers. And then I want to know, what are you grieving this holiday season? And I was specific and not just saying who, because it could be a person, place, thing. And I want you to name it. If you're grieving your mother, I don't want you to just write my mother. I want you to write your mother's name. Okay. If you're grieving your hometown, Raleigh, North Carolina, I want you to write Raleigh, North Carolina, so you get it right. And then I want you to also write, what does the space feel and look like for you for this season? So take some time to marinate. We're going to discuss, and then I want you to turn to your neighbor. All right, and discuss it with them. Is that cool? All right, let's do it. All right, y'all. Did y'all have a chance to share a little bit? And we want to keep the conversation fluid, so we'll have more time to discuss. But I definitely want to make room for the discussion and for the questions, because we have some really good questions that we want to discuss tonight. Pastor Eastland also said, this is a really good playlist. So I was like, you know what? This is a great time to let y'all know that this playlist is available on Spotify. It's called Grieve and Heal. And in episode 4, we talked about how music is medicine. And that guest, Jeffrey Smith, friend of mine, who also produced the music for the show, we got together, we collaborate on songs that help us grieve and songs that help us heal. So if you're interested, check it out. It's about 50 songs and we're it on a weekly basis. But yeah, I'd love for y'all to fight out with us on that. So without further ado, I have a bio that I'm getting ready to read. It is my pleasure to introduce my guest this evening, Pastor Desiree Eastland. She's unrelenting in the empowerment of women. She works with passion, equipped and encourage women to maximize their potential in every facet of their lives. She empowers, equips, and infuses women weekly call Wednesday morning at the crack of dawn. Yes. Entitled Inspiration Infusion Call. Through this, she helps them to do their best, be their best, and live God's best. She founded and directed the award-winning and state-recognized Harambee School of Advanced Preparatory Education. The Harambee School was created to promote and instill the values of excellence, integrity, and confidence in children. First Lady Eastland has received numerous awards and accolades for her work with women and children. First Lady Eastland serves as director of the Women's Empowered Ministries at Hope Church. Shout out to Hope Church Bear. And she has committed her life to Christ for the empowerment of women of God for the kingdom of God. Amen. Y'all, please help me welcome Pastor Eastland. Thank you. So, let's start out with the grief scale. Okay. On a scale from 1 to 10, and 1 is I'm feeling super light and airy, I can move through it, all the way to 10, I'm barely able to open my eyes with it. It's super heavy today. Where are you on your scale?
I'm a 2.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me why.
Well, because there are some people I miss, especially during this season, but I honor them and honor them through remembrance. So I'm good. Right.
Yeah.
There are times when it's hard, but then basically I think of all the good times now.
Yeah. Yeah. When I think about where I am today, I'm in the middle. I'm smack dab in the middle. 2 days from now, my mother would have been turning 67. And so Thanksgiving has always been the kickoff to her birthday. And sometimes her birthday would fall on Thanksgiving. And then also into Christmas and all that. So this time of year just kind of brings a certain amount of heaviness. One, because it's holiday, but also because it's her birthday. So those are things that I kind of have to balance. But being in community has made that lighter, because when I look at from last year and the year before last, it was so much heavier. When I think about from last year to this year, it's gotten lighter. It's gotten lighter. So I'm so encouraged by you that you're at a 2 today. So I want to get into that. Tell me where your introduction of grief, or where did you find out and introduce to grief that it was going to be a part of your life, and how has it navigated you through ministry today?
First of all, I was introduced with grief not by somebody dying, but by when my parents got a divorce. So I grieved the fact that my father was no longer in the home. Right. So that was an experience of grief because it was a loss. So I had to learn how to deal with that. After that, I did experience loss. I did experience the loss where I lost someone where they passed away. So first of all was my grandmother. She died on Christmas Eve.
Oh my gosh.
So needless to say, that Christmas was a little difficult. Yeah, it was very difficult. So Christmas Eve for a few years, not a couple of years, was really hard. So I want to say that was 1993.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 93.
Okay.
No, I take that back. That was 83. 83, sorry. 83. And then I experienced another loss when my other grandmother passed away. She passed away in 2006. She was killed in a car accident on the Beltway. Somebody was speeding on the Beltway. Her light was green and she was going, and they hit her and she died at the scene. So that was hard because it wasn't, expected, and she was just going about her daily routine, going back to go visit. She was a caregiver to her sister, and she was going back to her sister's house to go see, prepare for the evening. And on her way back, she was killed.
Yeah. My goodness. Okay, so how has that shaped how you move throughout the world and how you minister to others, shouldering the grief of your own, but also helping others make sense of theirs?
I think first of all, you have to feel all the feelings, right? Just feel them. You can't hide them. You can't put them to the side. So when, people say it's a hard day, let them have a hard day. Also, I've noticed that if people are experiencing grief, just giving them time to feel it. Also, just sitting quietly with them, or just being present with them. Or if they say, oh, I need this, well, I can say, hey, I can go get that for them. Or sometimes my tendency is to ask, what do you need? But they don't know what they need, or really sometimes, you might just be sitting there just like, I'm just trying to get through the day. I don't know. But if I notice, hey, they haven't had lunch or some things are not taken care of, being assisted with that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, just sitting with them. One thing that I've learned throughout this whole process, that we can all hold the ministry of presence.
Yes.
It doesn't cost anything to just go and sit with someone that is in pain.
Right.
One thing that I have removed from my vocabulary is I can't imagine, right? I don't know that I'll ever say that again to anyone. I can't imagine what you're going through, because actually I can imagine. I can imagine being hurt beyond compare. I can imagine losing a person. I can imagine losing a job. I can imagine losing one of my children, even though that's not my experience. I can imagine it. And I think it's in that imagining when we have a chance to sit with someone to uncover just a little bit about what's going on with them, and let the darkness that they shoulder impact us just a little bit. I think that's where empathy comes from.
Yes.
So I think that we can all do well with taking that with us, of just sit with someone. And then if you're that person that needs to be sat with, Pastor Eastland, I'm curious, how does one even come from under it to say, I just need you to sit with me? Where does that courage come from to let someone know, I just need you to hold my hand?
Yeah, that comes from deep down inside, when you just have hit rock bottom, and you just, it's a thing inside of you where you're just desperate, and you're like, I need you to be here. I don't know why I need you to be here. I don't know what I want you to say, but I need you to be here. So it'll just bubble up. But even if it doesn't bubble up from down deep inside, you look at a person's face.
Yeah.
Right? I'm looking at people's faces and seeing what's going on. You can look in their eyes and tell if somebody's hurting. And once again, that's where that presence comes in. You don't have to say anything. You can just be close, right? Stand by them. There's always this, right?
Yeah.
Just to let them know. And then at that point, depending on how far they are in the process, or how they, if they're ready to talk and have you, they'll say, thank you. And a conversation can start. Right?
Yeah. I want everybody to look up a book. It's called The Rabbit Listened. Quick aside, shout out to my husband over here, Michael Holloway. Hey, how's it? 10 years. This is a children's book. We read this book to our girls often. And what you said, Pastor Easton, sparked for me in that book is, it's a little boy who something Captain Bad, he lost his toy. And there's all these little animals that come along, and the lion wants him to get angry, so he roars at him. And the little boy's like, I don't want to be angry. So then the lion leaves. Another animal comes up and he's like, the snake comes up and says, let's get him back. Let's go knock over their toy. And the boy says, I don't want to do that. And the snake leaves. So all these animals come up and they are wanting the boy to have the kind of reaction that they want him to have.
Right.
Then a rabbit comes along and the rabbit just nuzzles up beside the boy, doesn't say or do anything. And over time, the rabbit just listens. And then the boy talks about how he's mad, talks about how he's angry, talks about his plans to build again. And then through it all, the rabbit is just sitting right there. So it's this really, really sweet story that helps children. And it just dawned on me right now. That's a grief practice.
Yes.
To be able to read that and talk through with children when someone is grieving or someone's in pain. You just listen. But I think it's a good lesson for us too.
Yes.
Yeah. So Pastor Eastland, holidays often magnify the absence of our loved one. And I will tell you that when I was planning this show, I envisioned that this was going to be a key component, that we were going to discuss holiday, because I knew launching in August, we'd get to the holiday time. But with that magnifying of the absence, why do you think this time of year feels especially challenging for us that are grievers?
Because you have so many memories.
Yeah.
Right? You have memories, things that you did together, or, maybe you had special times. Maybe you went to certain plays or things like that together during the holiday season, like the Nutcracker or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just because, and then there's tons of family, right? Then also you have these images that are plastered all around where you see all these families together. And so you're thinking, oh my goodness, my family's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
Or my loved one's not here. I know when my grandmother passed, suddenly I had a friend say, oh yeah, I called my grandmother the other day. And I was like, and it just hit like, oh my God, I can't call her.
Yeah.
Not anymore. So you just have these memories that flood in. And once again, I go back to, as the memories flood in, as the pain floods in, feel it. Don't mask it. Don't cover it up.
Say that again.
Don't mask it. Don't cover it up. Feel it. Feel what you need to feel. If you just need to stand there and cry, cry. If you need to pound your fist on the table, pound your fist on the table. Do what you need to do so that you can feel it, because you don't want to do the cover up and then create something else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good. For me, when I think about Thanksgiving was like my mom's holiday because of her birthday. But Christmas was our holiday.
Yeah.
So like when I start seeing the Peter and Elliot in the stores, and when do they do that? In April now, pretty much.
Exactly.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I just feel like bah humbug, like I don't want any parts of it. When I walked into Lit Java and saw this tree, I was like, not today. I've had some time. But when I saw this tree, and Angie was like, you don't like the tree? And I said, tree's beautiful. Love it.
Yeah.
And then they got a second one. It's beautiful. It really is. But when you start to see those, there's so many symbols of the holiday.
Yeah.
And all those symbols sync up to what? Love.
Right. Yeah.
So when you're missing that person and all you want to do is feel that love, I've heard people say, and I'm sure you all have heard people say, that grief is love with nowhere to go.
Right.
So when you're missing that person and you want to dote on them, you want to share recipes with them, you want to buy them a gift, you want to go shopping with them, you want to put up lights with them, the list goes on, right?
Right.
Those things that are no longer accessible to us in the physical, it gets us.
Yeah.
And I think it has the ability to take us down. Yeah. So one thing that I want us to get good about is creating a grief language, so that when those things pop up, when we walk into the store, when someone says Merry Christmas. I remember the first year after Mom passed, somebody said Merry Christmas. I was just like, I could not say it back. Right. Something in me like just wouldn't let me say Merry Christmas back. It's better now, but it still is painful. And I think being honest with those emotions is something that'll help us through just to be able to sit with it. I've been there with the covering and wanting to mask it. So I'll take y'all back to Thanksgiving 2 years ago. This was my mom passed in October. We had Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving was actually on her birthday. So that was a double whammy. But we hosted my husband's family for Thanksgiving. We had already had all the plans. Everybody had booked hotels, and they like do it big. The Holloways do it big for Thanksgiving, and I love it. I love that about his family. And so we have 50, 60 people over at the house. And I'm doing good so far. Like I'm hosting. I didn't cook anything because I don't. But I'm doing all the things in all the ways. And then I go upstairs for a minute and I realize, like, I don't even know the rules of this family. Like, am I supposed to be downstairs cleaning up right now? Or are they thinking bad of me because I'm not down there playing games? Like, I was like, yo, I had this whole like thing down pat. It was like rinse and repeat for holiday season when it was me and my mom. Yeah. I'm an only child. I'm my mother's only. My dad remarried when I was 2. And so all of those traditions, it was just me and my mom. And so to now be kind of transported into this world where my inside jokes, nobody else knows my inside jokes, and they're down there laughing and joking. And I loved it for them, but it was the loneliest thing for me. Mm-hmm. And so I do believe that when we share that and we're honest about that, because that bubbling occurred. And I remember going downstairs, I was a wreck. And they just hugged me and they embraced me. And they said, we get it. We get it. So I want us to identify more safe spaces. So tell me, how do we identify safe spaces in grief? And then on the flip side of that, what might be some advice for those that mean well, but they meet our grief with opposition? And by that, I mean, they may say, why are you crying about it? They're in a better place. Those things that people might say that they eat well, but how do we navigate when those things happen in real time? Because I do believe we may encounter that this season.
Right. I think what you have to first do is it's okay to create boundaries.
Yeah.
If people can't operate in the area where you are or understand your area, it's okay to say, okay, I don't have to greet them when they call. That's why you have voicemail. Yeah, or everybody has voicemail. Cool. Also when they text, you don't have to text right back. You can just let it hang out there for a while.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So create those boundaries. And then once you get to the point where you can say, I have to take a break. I had to take a break because I needed to experience and feel a few things. Then you can talk to them about it. Mm-hmm. But until that time, create those boundaries, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. So with the boundaries, I remember feeling super tired all the time. Mm. I felt, and still some days now, I feel like I have mono because I miss my mom so much, because I miss some of the facets of the life before. Right. I now, as a griever, can identify life before my mom and life after my mom. And I think that when we are in that season, things just feel so tiring. So I remember getting texts from friends, oh, we're going to go out get drinks tonight, we're going to we're going to go shopping Black Friday. We're going to do all this. And I just felt like so tired, but I felt like I couldn't express to them, right, I want to do this mentally, but physically I'm just tired. I can't even lift a finger to do it. Right. Have you had moments like that where there's this tired feeling associated with your grief, and how have you expressed that to folks, to your circle?
Yeah, I think it's okay when you feel that it's okay to take a break. I think it's important that when you grieve, the first thing you have to remember is self-care. Everybody say it, self-care.
Self-care.
And self-care is not selfish. Okay? You have to take care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody understands where you are, or not everybody's been on that journey or experienced what you're experiencing, or even if they have, it's still different because it's yours, right?
It's unique. Yeah.
So self-care, what do you need in order to take care of yourself? And we just have to keep that in mind so that we can, build ourselves up. And also, I want you to think about that as you're going through the process, if you just, after a while, when you start doing that self-care, consider in self-care, what do I need? Not do I need a mani-pedi? Not do I need to, go hang out at a game all the time? Maybe I just need to, every once in a while, you said you were tired throughout the day. Can I go outside and walk just to breathe in the fresh air? Also, start considering what are some other things I might need? Do I need to talk to someone else? Might not be your friend, and that's okay. They have to understand this is your journey, right? So you might need a professional.
Yeah.
And it's okay to get a professional, to go to a therapist, to go to a counselor, to go to a psychiatrist. It's okay. One of the things is once you start doing that, you're admitting to yourself and identifying those things that you need to feel better, so that you can move forward. Move forward, not forget it, but move forward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving forward is not moving on.
No. What, and I guess it's not moving on so you can forget it. See, some people think, okay, you got to move on so you can forget it.
Yeah.
Right? No, you're moving forward because your normal is going to be a new normal, right?
Yeah.
It's a new normal for Christmas. It's a new normal for Thanksgiving. It's a new normal when your parents get a divorce. It's a new normal when you lose someone and you come into the holiday and you don't see that person, but you've gotten to the point where you don't break out in tears, but that's your new normal. And it's okay to have a new normal.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. One thing that was helpful to me, I made a list of what traditions in the holiday am I keeping and what traditions in the holiday am I letting go of?
Yeah.
And, letting go of the things that my mother and I did together, but finding a new way to refresh and remix them.
Yes.
So it's me and my mom went to Belt. Do they even have belts in Texas? Lord have mercy. Southern. Oh my. You feel me? Okay, Kohl's. All right. Gotta go. Or Daisy Penny. But going there, maybe I'm not going there with my mom, but I can take my girls, right? I can take my girls there. We can kind of remix it and do something different. I can pick an outfit out for them that I think my mom would pick. My mom was a fashionista, so she all the glitter, all those sparkles. That's different than what I would pick. But I would say that, okay, I'm gonna pick out a dress for you like Nana. To honor Nana, I'm gonna pick out a dress for you that she would.
Yeah.
So we can remix those things. And I think taking stock of what is it that I'm saying goodbye to, and what is it that I'm going to take with me, and how can I make it new? And it evolves because our grief has to evolve with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for that reminder.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to someone who is facing their first holiday without their loved one?
First, take a breather and then decide how you want the holiday to look. Doesn't have to look like how it used to. Or if it does, decide where you're going to operate in it. Like when you went upstairs for for Thanksgiving that time, you took as much as you could, but you had to get away. And thank God for the Holloway family. The Holloway family being understanding. So when you came down, they just received you with open arms. They're like, you needed that moment.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that you do that. And it's okay if you say, the family used to go here. We used to go to my cousin's house. But when you get to your cousin's house, as soon as you hit the door, it's like, that's about it. Happy Thanksgiving. And you turn around. And that's okay.
That's real.
That's okay because, you made it that far, but you just cannot take it any further. And it's okay because you are in a process, right? It's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. You know, we live in this world now where everybody wants to push 2 minutes and it's done. And it's not going to be like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think having a plan is a good one, right? So go into it with some intention, but hold those plans loosely.
Yeah.
Because you might wake up and decide, I ain't doing none of that.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. And holding that boundary, like you said, is so important. Also having an exit strategy.
Yes.
You know, you pull up to the function with somebody and say, all right, I need to see where the exits are because there's but so much I can do, you know, and that's okay too. And it's not about, oh, bah humbug and not wanting to be in the spirit, but it's about making sure that you can still hold space for what you're grieving. Because when you don't we know it affects our health.
Yes.
It affects our relationships.
Yes.
If a person doesn't know that you're grieving, but they trigger you in a way and you're not able to effectively articulate how they triggered you or when, that can erupt into a relationship that will no longer be.
Right.
So there's so many different ways that grief can come up. But if we take the time to take it out and examine it.
Yeah. And then I think that examine it. And then once you move further down the road, then you can begin to have conversations and let people know that when others are going through, be aware, take note, because sometimes people don't know how they're supposed to act, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's stay there. The well-meaning.
They don't know. You know, somebody wants to come in and say, oh, well, God wanted them more.
Mm.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about that because I wanted them, right? So we have to be careful about that. And we have to, when we get to our next and are able to share with others, like you have grief in the law, you're able to educate people and say, you know, these are some things that you know, consider saying, and these are some things you should think about before you say,
Yeah.
right? Because who wants to hear that? God wanted them more. Now, we love the Lord.
Right.
That's right. But God wanted them more.
Another taboo one. Well, if you're still in grief, that means your faith is not strong.
Yeah. And no.
Mm-mm.
No.
Not okay
No.
to say.
No. God's journeying with you in this case.
Yeah.
Right? God is walking with you. God knows what you need. And it has nothing to do with your faith. It's a process. It's something that you're going through that has affected your mind and sometimes your body, depending on how you're processing it, and your soul, right? So you want to make sure that, you know, don't say those things, but know that when people say that to you, sometimes those are all the words they know, and those are the words they heard. So they're just repeating it. So, you know, extend grace, but then run quickly.
That's a gem. Say it again.
Extend grace and then run quickly.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I want to do a social media call out. When we, during the show, we always find a way that life and grief intersect. And we spend so much time on social media, right? We're always looking at different things and downloading different messages there. And so sometimes I'm encouraged by things that people send me or things that I see where I'm like, oh, they're actually talking, they're talking about grief. I share that as a resource because it's good to hear different perspectives, but I want to know Pastor Eastland's thoughts on it as well. So we're going to play this clip from John O., and he's actually going to be on tour talking about grief. And so I'll be sharing some of his resources on my page, but I want you to take a look at this and then we're going to discuss it. I think it's getting queued up now. Thank you, Angie.
Maybe it's helpful for us not to think of grief as a journey that we finish. Maybe it's more helpful for us to think of grief as a language. And the goal of a language is not to finish, it's to become fluent. With every language, there's a bunch of different dialects. When it comes to grief, there's at least two. Tangible grief, People know how to speak that one well. Somebody that you love dies. Their body is dropped into the ground. Tears sprint down your cheek, chasing them into the ground. People look at your tears and the fallen body. They connect the two, and you're surrounded with hugs and handshakes and casseroles, if that's your sort of thing. Another dialect that people are unfamiliar with when it comes to grief is ambiguous grief. This is the death of a dream, the death of a relationship, the diagnosis of a parent with dementia, where even though they're alive, you talk about them in the past tense. The death of a marriage, a miscarriage. All of these are deaths with no funerals and funerals with no caskets. And when the tears are sprinting down your cheek, people do not have a fallen body to connect it to. So they look at you and they say, why are you sad all the time? And it's a weight that you have to carry by yourself because people aren't fluent with that kind of grief.
Oh, whew, that's a whole entire word. Yeah. So I think one central theme that I'm thinking is that feeling of isolation, of be it tangible grief or ambiguous grief, a person who feels isolated. Thank you so much. Coffee brought to you by Lit Java Coffee Index. Cheers to you.
Oh, cheers. Woo.
So when we're talking about what John was discussing in creating that grief language, what are some of the misconceptions about grief that prevent us from creating and developing that language that he's discussing?
Because people believe that you should get over it in a time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Some people put a time frame over it, on it, excuse me. And then also, people also believe that not only are the adults grieving, but children grieve too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people believe that, well, because kids are so resilient, we can just skip on over them, don't have to worry about it. But we do need to attend to them as well.
Yeah.
Make a point to work with them as well. And then also know yourself. Start having some introspection so you can know what you need. Even if you say, I don't even know what I need right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that at some point you'll say, okay, I keep saying this, so I might need some help to figure out what I need.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I get back to going out to get help, going to therapy, and put a name on it. Put a name on it. Okay, what am I dealing with right now? I'm dealing with grief. Name it. Okay, at Hope Church Pearland, we say you're sick as your secrets, right? Mm-hmm. So don't let it be a secret anymore. Just tell yourself, it's not a secret. I'm going to deal with this grief out loud to yourself or to whomever you're working with or in your circle of influence. This is what I'm dealing with. And then you can move on and proceed from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One thing that we did as a family after my mom passed, we took some family portraits. And I knew that I wanted to take my last family portrait with my mom. I'll share some of these pictures on social, but we decided to take the portrait that we had of her and take some family photos with it. And my children at that time were 2 and 4. And so they were very much so like, we get to take pictures with Nana, I was like, is it going to be awkward that we're kind of holding up this? And no, it was far beyond that. It was a pure expression of she's still with us. I just posted on social just today or this morning, my daughter Ava, she's now the 4-year-old. She's youngest, but she looks to the moon and the stars. And when we leave daycare, she sees stars. She's like, Nana waited for me. She waited for me to get out of school. I'm like, that's right, baby. She sure did. We went to dinner the other night and she's like, Mom, Nana's here. And I like double took for like a second. And I was like, oh, yes, she is, because to me, leaning into that imagination and the spirit of a child, because don't we know from the mouths of babes, right? Leaning into that allows them to have their own grief practices.
Yeah.
So I love that your care of children, it shows and it shines through.
Yes.
Yeah. What are things? I want to be on topic, right? So What are some meaningful traditions or acts of remembrance that families can create to honor their loved ones during the holiday season?
So for example, favorite color, if your loved one had a favorite color, you could use that color during the holidays for your Christmas decoration or whatever. If there was a favorite song, Christmas song,
Yeah.
play that song if you can, right? Favorite Christmas movie. Everybody has a favorite Christmas movie, right? If you can get through that at that time, watch that movie with the family. Also, talk about the person, share stories. My family, they love to talk about things. Sometimes my husband says they talk about the same thing over and over again. The same story, but that is remembrance for some, for when they're doing that. It's just always interesting because you could see the light and the joy in their face when they talk about, especially my mom and my aunt, when they talk about their father and their mom. So yeah.
Yeah. I think this Thanksgiving, I sent an email to the coordinator who is my brother-in-law, so my husband's brother, and he was talking about this typical, and I said, before we say the prayer for Thanksgiving, can we do a moment of silence and remembrance for those that are not with us?
Yeah.
And he emailed right back and said, absolutely, that's a great idea.
Right.
So sometimes interjecting just a little piece, that person is not, you are without that person in the physical,
Right.
but that person's memory, it's not wrong to reach back to a memory, to bring it into the present.
Right.
Before you all leave here tonight, got these bags here. Everybody will get a little candle, a little light candle.
Yeah.
And I encourage you that when you pull up to the function, you say, hey, I brought this candle and I'd love to burn it in honor of my person.
Yeah.
And that just goes such a long way. And along with that candle, you could do a picture of them,
Right.
or you could, put their name there. But sometimes when we feel isolated in our group, we think that we're the only one missing our person.
Right.
And then when we let others in, when we let that little bit of light in, and they shed that light on that darkness, and then they say, you know what? I miss when your mom would make that banana pudding too. And you're like, you miss a mom too, and that's where the connection comes from.
Right.
That's where the connection comes from. And so I hope that will be of help to someone. And there's so many other things that you can do too. Those photos that we took that year, when we did Christmas cards, because we took the family photos, and I think I told you I didn't want to say Merry Christmas, like Merry Christmas from the Holloways. To me, it wasn't merry.
Right.
So I had to be honest with that thing. And I said, this is our most recent family portrait. You'll see that someone's missing. While we grieve, we still rejoice in the goodness of our Father. Yeah. And that was the card.
Awesome.
And I got so many compliments of, I've never seen a Christmas card like that, but it was real. It was real. And so I think the more that we can shed that, it reminds us that we are human and that others go through this process as well. I heard someone tell me recently that grief is like a cocoon. And you can come out of that cocoon early, but you'll look a lot like you do right now. Mm-hmm. But if you sit with that thing and you let it take you under for just a little while, what's on the other side of that, you become this butterfly. You're almost unrecognizable to yourself and others.
Right.
And so my prayer is that you let it cocoon you, because what can manifest on the other side can be beautiful. Pastor Eastland, what's an example to you of grief or finding beauty in grief? What's that butterfly moment for you?
Grief in the raw.
No. That's very sweet of you. I received that.
Yeah. You've taken this, and that's part of walking through this journey. You've taken this, what you're feeling. You've said, okay, I'm feeling this. I wonder if anybody else is feeling the way I'm feeling that looks like me. And how can I share this? How can we learn and grow together? Yeah. And here we are. right?
Yeah.
It's still a process. You're still walking through it, but look at what you've created. Look at the feedback that you get. Look at your guests who've come on, and they've all been grieving in different ways
Yeah.
through different situations, but it's giving everyone a platform to share that.
Yeah.
And to talk it out and share with others.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, look. Tissues. How can loved ones continue to support someone who is grieving as seasons pass? Because this is just one season. You know, those of us that are missing someone, we're going to turn the page from 2024 to 2025. And that person, place, or thing that we're grieving is not going to be there. So how can we tell people to support us, but how can, if there's anyone who is supporting a griever, how can we continue to support them as the seasons pass in and outside the holiday?
Right. Encourage them in the activities that they're doing, whatever that may be. Also, ask them when you see them, ask them, well, how are you feeling today?
Mm.
Just one day at a time. And then conversation goes from there, right? As I said, once again, supporting them, also just following up. You told me, you were going to do X, Y, and Z. How's that going? Just how's it going?
Yeah.
And that gives them an opportunity to talk and just being a presence in their life, right?
Yeah. I have started to, when a friend tells me that they lost someone, I'll say, if you don't mind, will you share that anniversary with me or their birthday, whichever one feels good to you. I would love to reach out to you on that day.
Right.
So I put not only that friend's, or I had that friend's birthday in my phone, but I also have the date of that person. And someone may say, man, that's exhausting to do, but it goes such a long way just to put a little note in your calendar. And you might be the only person that they hear from that day. And that goes, that speaks leaps and bounds.
Right. And as you say that, I'm reminded everybody's at the funeral.
Whew.
Everybody.
Say that.
They come to the funeral, they come to the repast. But then there's that next week, that next month, 3 months down the road. So I used to be upset because sometimes I would forget the card to put in the little box. I am no longer upset because, yes, they're going to read those cards, but then if they get a card further down the road, that's a good thing. They can open it and get some encouragement on that day. It could be a really rough day. So, yeah.
Y'all, I'm full. I don't know about y'all, but your wisdom, there's just a wisdom that follows you around anyway, because you're anointed. But being able to share a platform of the ministry of presence with you, I hope you know how special you are. I know Hope knows how special you are. I have some rapid fire questions to help us get to know you even more. But before that, I want to open it up to the audience. If there are any questions for myself or Pastor Eastland that we can tackle together, because again, this is a community space. So if you have a question, we'll give you some time to just raise your hand. Will there be one? But if you have a question that maybe we did not discuss in the time that we have, we'd love to hear from you. Do you really have you? Okay. Come on. Okay.
This question is for Kelli. In 2 days, how can I best support you?
Wow. I love you. just doing what you're doing. In the immediate, let me sleep late. Let me just, put my head under the covers for just a little while, but don't let me stay there. Yeah, that. And let me dote on my husband for a second, because this reminds me, and just a way of showing up. So we're from North Carolina. We moved here. We've been here for a year in December, which is wild to me. I love this area. This heat is something serious. Just starting to cool down. And so my mom's resting place is in North Carolina. In my entire life, because I was my mom's caregiver, we've never lived more than 8 minutes from each other, because a doctor told me one time if she had a fall that you have about 8 minutes to get to her. She was wheelchair bound. And so I lived my entire life that close to my mom, minus college. So even in her rest, her gravesite is about 8 minutes from where we were living. And so that I had a lot of heartburn about, how am I going to move across the country? And I'm not going to be right there by the grave. I'm not going to be able to take flowers when I need to and want to. And so fast forward to Mother's Day, my husband went home to surprise his mom. She had her 25th golden 50th root. Yes. A 50th college graduation ceremony. She had been graduated from A&T University, Aggie Pride, for 50 years. And so he went and surprised her on Mother's Day. I had a little bit of grief behind that, because I'm like, I need you here for Mother's Day, because I'm a mom, but also I'm grieving the loss of my. But I said, no, let that go. Like, I want him to be able to show up for his mother. So he went, and I'm glad that he went. So then a couple of days later passed after Mother's Day, after he surprised her. And a friend of mine said, I think I'm going to take some flowers by your mom's grave. Text me. And I said, oh, that'll be so great, because I didn't get a chance to get there for Mother's Day. So then I text Mike, and I was like, Mike, somebody's going to go by mom's grave. And he said, somebody already did. And he sent me the photo. So when Mike flew back to North Carolina to surprise his mom, he also went by my mom's grave and put flowers for my mom.
Look at there.
That's the sweetest thing you've ever done. And it reminded me that he has his own process.
Yeah.
Because he was super close to my mom, and she loved you. You were a son. So thank you. Thank you. And you support me in all the ways, but let me sleep late. That's it. Aw. Are there any other questions? Yes. Can we get a mic to my friend over here?
Lost my husband in September.
So sorry.
How do you manage the guilt? Trying to, one moment when you are in your a good mode, and then the guilt hits. How do you manage that?
So good. Thank you for that question, Pastor Easton. I want you to start.
The guilt. The guilt that you feel, and I'm not sure why you feel the guilt and why you're feeling guilty.
It's like I'm having fun sometimes, and he's no longer here. Or the kids are having a hard time, and I'm having a good day, and I feel guilty about myself having a good day, or vice versa.
But they're processing just like you are. So you're going to have good days, and they'll have bad days. You'll have bad days, and they're going to have good days. There's no need to feel guilty. You just have to feel it. Let the kids know as you guys go through this, hey, we're going to have be in different stages and phases on this journey, but we're going to walk through it together. So there's no need to feel upset about it or feel guilty that, oh, today I had a really good day. It's okay to have a good day. And when they have a good day, you say, I'm glad you're having a good day. I'm happy for you. And I get it because I'm happy you're having a good day because I had a really hard day today. But I'm glad you had a happy day. And it's about communicating and walking through it together. And you can't feel guilty about it. We know some things in life, when it happens, it takes us all by surprise. And it just knocks us off the feet. And what you're doing is you're gradually getting back up. So take your time. Don't beat yourself up about it, right? Feel what you need to feel, but don't beat yourself up about feeling I'm having a good day and they're not having a good day, okay? It's a journey and it's a process.
Yeah.
And if you feel like you can't navigate it by yourself, with you all together, that's why you say, hey, let's go get someone who can help us navigate this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surround yourself with people who will uplift the process.
Condolences to you
for
the loss of your husband. I'm proud of you for seeking a community and feeling it.
Yeah.
Because that's how you make it through it. It doesn't get easier. It gets different.
Yeah.
And when you have those guilty moments, because I too went through those moments of, I'm afraid to make new memories without my mom. I'm afraid to make new memories without her. That's a valid emotion because it's an expression of your heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's an expression of the love. So knowing that and feeling that and letting that move through your body. And then when you have the guilty moments, take stock of what makes me feel better when I feel guilty. So is that going outside and letting the sunshine hit your face? Is that something that makes you feel better? Or is it watching a sad movie to because it's cathartic to cry? Is that something that helps you feel better? So taking stock of, because we're not negating the guilty feeling, because it just sucks. Yeah. So when you feel that, though, take stock of what made you feel better. And then my prayer for you is that you come back to what made you feel better quicker. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing. Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Can we get a mic over? Thank you.
I'm her mom, and I'm trying to be there for her. All right. Also lost my son-in-law because he was like this time to me. I also lost my sister and my sister-in-law all within 3 months of this year. So we've been going through a lot of it and trying to process this. So my mom lives with me and my cousin, and she's 87 years old. She's really a big help, but every 6 like casting, I find myself always running in her room, go to sleep, and listening to see if she's breathing or not. So I kind of worry, like, so maybe, it's of an age. I feel I have anxiety about that.
Wow. Enjoy the moments that you have with her. First, enjoy those moments. Make memories. Have conversations. And it's okay to run in there and check on her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Get your cardio up. Right? Yeah. It's okay. I mean, you've been through a lot. You've been through a lot. And you'll be moving through this. Eventually you'll get where you won't be running in there all the time. But while you still have her, that's one of the things that we have to make sure we appreciate everyone while they're here. And do the best we can. with creating opportunities, relationships, gatherings, phone calls, texts, whatever that may be. And it's okay. Yeah. But God bless both of you, Paul. I mean, and thank God you have each other to walk this journey out, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah. Actually, it's not a question. And you actually touched on it, Pastor Desiree. Thank you. It's not a question that you actually touched on it, Pastor Desiree, but the ambiguous grief, the grief that has not completely happened, but you know it's inevitable. When you said told her to celebrate that person, pick about the things, I think that's good. Can you guys dive a little bit deeper? Because I know, like in the video, the gentleman talked about cases of dementia, especially when it's progressing. Can you guys go a little bit deeper in that?
Yeah, I think that with dementia, a lot of people are suffering with dementia now. You hear about it all the time. I think we have to take the good days and make them great days, because we don't know how that really, how that manifests, right? Do as much as we can to learn more about it. What are the things that I was thinking about that as we go through, and the reason why, I have this passion for making sure that people can make it through their journey is because I want to equip and empower. And what does equip and empower mean? It means we're going to have to learn, we're going to have to grow. So as we're experiencing things, let's learn and grow and find information about the situation that we're going through, right? So if we're working with someone who has dementia, or our loved one has dementia, okay, let's find out all the information we can find out about it. What are some skills? What are some exercises I can be doing? What doctor should we be going to? How do I navigate this? How can I make life good for them when they have good days? And then how do I minister to them? And I mean, minister care for them when they're having their bad days, right? We just want to make sure that we do our part, so that, because they're still here, we haven't lost them yet, but we do want to make sure that we do our part while they're here to make it comforting, and also to celebrate them. There's some things that I think about, our loved ones. There's some questions I wanted to ask, like historical questions with my grandparents, and I didn't get a chance now. And I'm thinking, oh gosh, I have to start asking those questions to my mom now, because when she's gone, I don't know who's going to know the answers to the questions. So whatever you can do to create dialogue, talk with them, and celebrate. I think we need to take more time out and celebrate life with them. And then as they're going through, learn what we can do to help them make the journey and make it as comfortable as possible.
Yeah. And even with the okay days, sometimes okay days are good enough.
Yeah.
And to get so caught up in, but we didn't do this, or we didn't say this, or she didn't feel this.
Yeah.
Just let it be, because there will be those times that you miss. But also, I've said a prayer before: Lord, give me spiritual eyes. Help me see what you see. I see my mother as frail. I see that she's getting tired. I see that she's not having appetite like she used to. Help me see what you see.
Yeah.
And then when I do that, I see beauty. I see her made in his image. I see her doing the best that she can. And that increases my capacity for empathy. And I do believe that helped us have as much peace as we possibly could in her last days here.
Yeah.
And I imagine her whole now.
Yeah.
I imagine her walking, praising God.
Yeah.
Being up there singing with the angels. She's looking through that star at Ava and Zoe, and she's guiding them home just like they believe that she is.
Yeah.
Those are the things that, when we ask of him, are specific prayers. Making it specific, I think, is a way that helps us. Yeah. Maybe one more or two. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, over the case, the day before Mother's Day, tail end of that year, And the young lady said, guilt. It really, so me and my older brother, we discussed guilt. Both of us had our own journey with my mother passing, but we both had a guilt because my mother didn't have a living will. She was on life support, and we had to make that decision to take off of life support. And that is the kind of grief where you feel like you took their life. And we do understand that life was only there because of a machine. But to actually be the one to tell the doctor to unplug, that kind of grief, all these years, it still bothers us both. We talk about it. We just recently talked about it because she had an aneurysm. It was telling me a story about people which he know they had aneurysms that had a surgery and were okay. He just says, ready to but allowed mom to have that surgery. So his grief started over. It's trying to figure out a way to heal from that, being the decision maker. It has served purpose for me. Tell people to tell their loved ones, have a living will.
Yeah.
And because I don't want to ever make that decision again for anybody that I love, and let it be their decision.
Yeah.
So what would be your advice on just really trying to continue to move through the process of knowing it? I was part of the decision to end my mother's life on a certain level.
I'm going to be truthfully honest with you. I don't know. But what you said in the conversation was, since you all have experienced that, since you experienced that, you have taken that and now you're telling others, please make sure you have a living will. At the time, you made the best decision you could.
With the information that you had.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's all you can do. Right?
And I think it's that, and it's also that forgiveness of yourself, like that you forgive yourself and work to do that every day, even if it's an affirmation that you say in the mirror. I forgive myself for doing the best that I knew to do at the time that I knew to do it.
Right.
And know that God is pleased with what you did and what you do and how you show up in this world. And that's a everyday taking it off, right? So it's not going to be where you forgive yourself on a Saturday and by Sunday you're good.
No.
It may be an everyday that you have to forgive yourself, and saying it repetitively. There's going to be a day, I don't know when and I don't know how, but you're going to believe it. You're going to believe that forgiveness.
Yeah.
I have some rapid fire questions that I'm going to kick your way. Then we're going to play the music and we're going to, as long as Angie lets us stay, we will discuss and continue the conversation, because I'm so encouraged by this. And I just thank you for your time this evening and your heart this evening. Talking about grief is not an easy thing to do.
No.
It is not an easy thing to do. So the fact that you are giving of yourself and your time, I'm so appreciative. So here are a couple of questions that I want to kick your way. The point is to answer quickly and don't think too much on it, right? It's supposed to be fun as grief can be, right? Okay. Top 5 things on your Thanksgiving plate. Go. Like it has to be. It's not Thanksgiving if it's not on your plate. These 5 things.
Thor's hammer.
What's that?
It's what my husband's cooking for me for Thanksgiving. his homemade oh my gosh. What's the stuff? Cranberry spot. Blueberry cat. Oh my lord.
All right.
Okay. Greens.
Mm-hmm.
Stuffing. Right?
Uh-huh.
And dessert. And it could be any dessert. I'm not particular.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Now we're all thinking about Thanksgiving. Just a couple more days. Just a couple more days. Okay. What's a holiday tradition that your family has practiced and passed down from years and years and years from past loved ones that you still do to this day?
Oh wow. Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanksgiving.
Yeah. That being together. Thanksgiving. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we have a Tuesday night Bible study that takes place here for women, and we're talking to bad girls of the Bible. Really bad girls of the Bible. So I want to know, Pastor Eastland, who is your favorite bad girl of the Bible and why?
Bathsheba.
Tell us why.
Well, Bathsheba, she was a really bad girl because David saw her over there on the rooftop. But even though she went through what she went through, she grieved
Mm-hmm.
the death of her son, and she came out on the other side of that. And she was blessed with a son named Solomon, who she nurtured, and he grew up to be the wisest.
Yeah. That was her butterfly moment.
Our butterfly moment, yes.
I love it. Okay. What's the best advice that you've ever received from a loved one who is no longer here in the physical with you?
Oh, Lord. Okay. So this is from my grandfather. And he said, don't take any wooden nickels. No, but I'll be close to doing something, but no wood nickels. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good one. Okay. What's your favorite thing about your Hope Church family community?
Oh. Hey, Hope is loving, they're caring, and they love to worship the Lord, and we have great fellowship.
Amen. Amen. I can attest to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then we also are under the leadership of that as pastor in all of Pearland.
Pastor. And not here. He's here. Raise your hand. Let the people know who you are. Supporting his wifey here. Yes. Okay. Iced coffee or hot coffee?
Ooh. Well, Lit Java's iced coffee.
Yeah. That's my next question.
Yeah.
What's your Lit Java go-to drink?
Brown sugar shaken. I highly recommend it.
Okay. TD Jake says, everyone comes a gift. So I want to know, what do people get when they get you?
Encouragement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that. Get a lot of gifts. Abundance of gifts. At a holiday function,
Mm-hmm.
and you're feeling overwhelmed by grief, and it just hits you. As my friend says, you don't know what, you don't know why. How can someone comfort you in the moment? They come up to you, and what do they say to comfort you?
Well, they don't have to say anything, but if they give a hug, that's all I need.
Yeah.
No words necessary.
Yes. I love it. All right. If you had to choose between one holiday song, or between the two of these holiday songs that you hear for every holiday and you don't hear the other one, is it Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas or The Temptations' Silent Night?
Ooh, Silent Night.
Okay, funny story. When my mom would play Silent Night, I used to run and hide. I was so afraid of the deep voice, the big moon. And it was like, it would, oh, thank you for bringing that memory back, because she would laugh and laugh and laugh. It was like a scary song to me, and I appreciate it now. I love it now, but that deep voice. Okay, what has grief taken from you? And then I want to know, what has grief given you?
Well, grief takes away your loved ones, right?
Yeah.
And but what it gives you appreciation of time that you get to spend with people. It gives you appreciation of experiences that you've had, and just the love and the legacy that's been left behind.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. I know that as I am collecting these gems, that others here in this space are collecting them as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be able to pass it on to others, and those that are listening and watching after this back, they're going to now have this emotional armor that they're going to be able to, this tool that they're going to be able to take to the function. And that's what this was about.
Yes.
Being able to say, I've had my moment of grief. I've had my moment to let it fill this room. So now when I go into this happy space, into this joyful space, I'm able to take what I learned, and what I gathered there, and take that moment for what it was, and now take this moment for what it is.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you for helping us put that armor on, that we're going to be ready. We're going to be ready for the holiday because of you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank
Y'all,
you. Thank you to you, Kelli Holloway.
Take what you need, leave what you don't.
Amen.
Share it with someone that you think needs it the most. Thank you so much, Pastor Eastland. I love you. So we have done what we really came to do. This is officially a wrap. Season 1 of Grief in the Raw. I'm so encouraged by y'all. I thank y'all so much. Again, special thanks to Angie and Dewana. They have so graciously hosted us. This is a community space. So y'all, this is your first time Java. All right. Don't let this be your last. Okay. Come on back. This is a beautiful space, and there are so many different things on the events calendar here. There's Bible study, there's book club. We had a game night the other night. So this is truly, and now podcasts. Yeah. So this is truly a community space, and let's support this Black-owned, woman-owned business in Houston, Texas. I want to thank my husband, Mike, for believing in me when he heard those, 5 words? 7 words. I want to start a podcast. And I know he was like, you want to listen to yourself talk more? I appreciate you, and I love you. And thank you for also running tech support today for the podcast. I also want to thank Bethany Anderson, who's over here. She is the producer of my show. So the wonderful captions and edits and smallest delivery that you see, I would not be able to do that without her. So thank you. Thank you so much for lending your time and your talent to this project. And I want to thank y'all. Like, we're pulling up. I know that you are mostly here for Pastor Eastland, but little old me, on the bottom of my heart, coming here to get up your heart and be vulnerable with me in this space, like, this is dope. And I just really, really, really appreciate y'all so much. And if there's anything that I can ever do for you or with you, to pray for you, to sit with you in your moment of grief, I want to do just that. So please continue to connect with me. Prayerfully, we'll have a season 2. And we'll talk about more things, because grief is not just about losing the loved one. Grief is about loss of a job or loss of a dream or a tough health diagnosis. losing a pet. Like, grief is this recurring revolving door that we're always going to enter in and out of. And I want to keep that conversation going. I really feel like we're just getting started, Bethany. Like, what do you think? Right, we're rolling. So after the new year, we'll be back. But for now, get to know the 12 episodes that are out there right now. Support your girl by subscribing, liking, and commenting, and sharing it with somebody. That would mean the world to me, and that helps me to continue to be able to do what I love, which is the ministry of presence.
Thank you for joining me, Kelli Holloway, inside of today's episode. For a deeper dive, remember you can watch this episode on YouTube and listen on your favorite audio streaming platform. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. For more information about Grief in the Raw podcast and to connect with me, my special guest, and the Grief in the Raw community forum, visit kellyandco.com. All links are in this episode's description. Tremendous thanks to the producer of Grief in the Raw, Miss Bethany Anderson, and major shout out to Jeffrey Smith, who curated the soundtrack for the pod.